So it was a short while ago now, but I came across this Reddit post in D and DIY subreddit. It was a guy who created a whole bunch of pages for a spell book or some kind of crazy ancient book, and I really liked it. I think they're AI produced, if my memory serves, but well, that's the one downside, I guess. But anyway, what it really inspired me to do was create a book, and I messaged the guy who created these. He never responded, so I hope if you do see this video at some point in your future, you like what I did with the pages that you created that you made available for people to use. So I brought those pages into Photoshop because they were all sorts of odd sizes in the original document. So I made them all fit one size. Just tidied them up, just did a little bit of colour correction to suit my own tastes. And then, of course, I spent the eternal age waiting for several meters of paper to print out. But once it was printed out, I could get going properly. And here now is the result of this crafting project. So this is just coffee grains. A lot of people know about using tea and coffee to stain paper to age it. But if you take loose coffee grains and sprinkle them over that wet paper, you'll get even better stainage in your aging techniques. I've done it many times and it always works a treat. Hey guys, so this is a very quick impromptu bit of video. I've just got back. I'm on a bit of a short timeline here, so I've got no lights or anything going on in here, but it's still reasonably light outside. So basically, I have just used gaffer tape to bind together two pieces of MDF, which have been set at the right width to provide the spine to the book. So back end of the book sits nicely against this piece of tape. On the inside it sits against it, so that will give me a nice hinge action that's quite durable. But right now what I need to do, because I am on a short timeline with this, what I need to do is get this glued in now, the spine glued in, so that I can actually finish what I need to do before the game that it's for on Sunday. I've got some tacky glue. I'm hoping that's going to do it. I'm going to run a bead of tacky glue down the inside spine of the cover. So there you go, that's that. So I'm going to lay that down into the spine. Just make sure that I've got the pages sort of centered in there. From this side, I'm just going to push in and just using my fingers, just push those pages down, tamp them down to be sat as
as firmly as they can against this base edge here. And then, as I say, I don't want the glue seeping through those pages, so I need to keep this held upright. For that, I have got my table vise out, and I am just going to slide that in there and tighten up the vise. Next morning, let's have a look, see how we're doing. Okay, so disappointing. I wonder, does it not bond to the duct tape? There may be troubles ahead that I could do without. Let's crack on. So the cover itself, the inside of the cover, I want to line the inside of the cover. I have this wallpaper, which I bought many years ago, and you can see how much is still left on it. It has been a really useful bit of resource, and I have actually dug out this after it not being used for a long time, and there's 2 or 3 of the wallpapers there which I'd completely forgotten that I bought, and it made me realise just the potential that wallpaper has for us as tabletop crafters. So much so it made me think about just popping into the local DIY store just to see what they got, and you know how they let you just grab a sample strip. Well, I grabbed some. Look at that, flagstones, and it's textured as well. So that's, that's an invaluable resource to us. I also picked up this one, which has a more a geometric design on it, and those 2 pieces, that's enough to do a terrain set for us guys, and that doesn't even cost anything. So what a great resource that has been rekindled from my youth when I was making scrappy bits of terrain. So you might see those get thrown into the mix at some point in the future. But for now, what I need is this. So I'm just going to roll out enough to do the inside of the book cover. Slice that off. As with the pages, I'm just going to use spray adhesive to adhere this on the inside. So there we go. That's all been spray glued in. I just used a really generous amount, just in the hope that it holds it down. But now it is time to get a bit more dramatic. Come on. So, my aim for this now slightly battered cover is to create on it something dark and sinister and organic. And the organic part has come from most of this mid-journey illustration stuff is either sort of body parts or these very curious, weird spiraling organic shapes. So I'm going to draw some inspiration from some of the sort of abstract shapes that are in here. I'll be dealing with this. This was where the coffee stuck and just told it, but it's fine, it just adds to the age. But yeah, so I just want to draw some inspiration from some of these kind of organic shapes. I've come back to this one a couple of times, but what I also want to do is there's obviously anatomical reference in here as well. So as it's currently close to Halloween, I've been to the Halloween shop. I have bought myself 2 skeletons, and I am going to chop parts of these to help add a little sort of organic or anatomical elements into the cover as well. Now these are polymer clay, and they're made by Mary, and they're absolutely bloody gorgeous, I think. She's really finding her stride with these dragon eye motifs that she's making. So, and she's donated one of them to me, and I kind of want to use it in the cover. I want to give the impression that there's a draconic element, maybe a dragon sage crafted the mystical scribblings and diagrams in the book.
It's unfortunate, but I actually lost a bunch of the footage of me snipping up parts and sticking them down onto this cover, but I got enough of it here for you to see the general idea. It is just strips of kitchen roll that's hot melt glued down to get these weird organic shapes. I cut up parts of the skeletons that I bought and spread them around the cover as if there was a form in some kind of fetal position wrapped around the cover, and I worked on that kind of curvature to add just strange, curious textures. I took some hemp string and I kind of separated out all of the threads of that, and that made this very kind of weird little veiny texture, which I really enjoyed as well. And I also used aluminium foil, which is another of my favourite go-tos for creating organic structure. So yeah, it came out pretty well in the end. Well, it seems to be working in the right direction. Somehow the cover's got tightened up, so it's not closing like it once was, and I guess that's because of the stuff that's wrapping around here now. So just lots of hot glue, foil and kitchen roll paper. There we go, and it wraps around the spine there. So, next thing I need to do is spray this black. Okay, here it is. It's looking pretty cool, I think. I sprayed it black, and I've also sprayed it with just a couple of metallic colours. Not because I'm after necessarily a metallic cover, but just that sheen of metal, I think, was key. So this technique is obviously not one for the faint-hearted, but just having a flame that you can gently burn the edges of the paper. So if I hold this up here now, so yeah, it just burns the edges of the paper itself,
and it not performs gives it a nice aging edge. You generally want to have a jug of water nearby just to dip your fingers into to keep them a little damp, so that you're not actually burning your fingers. You don't want the paper to catch fire properly. You only want it to just start to catch and then just quickly tap it out. And you don't need to use your hand, you could use a wet sponge or anything like that. The reason I don't tend to use a wet sponge for myself is simply that you eventually make the edges of the paper a little too wet to then catch. So I've over the years just figured out what the timing is to do this relatively safely. But ultimately it is a technique that should only be carried out by very irresponsible adults.
Right, okay, let's get this fixed properly to this. Time to do it. So I spied my coil of chain that I got knocking around on the shelf there, and I thought, you know what, that could actually be a much more thematically accurate way of making a hinge. So having drilled those holes, I'm sure there was some weirdness going on when I did that. I then fed the chain through, and I kind of just crisscrossed it over. I did one at the top and one at the bottom. I also ran a chain sort of through the middle pages as well, from sort of top to bottom, just to help with the bond. But it seems to have done what I needed it to do. So I just used a bit of super glue to hold all the chains in place. And yeah, that's the hinge created now in a working fashion, and the book opens properly now. And all I've got to deal with now is that closing of the book. Oh yeah, and I guess I've got to still finish painting the cover. The base coat I put over the cover, and this is really only very loosely painted over the base of black and metallics, was a mix of this burnt sienna, like a warmish brown colour, and a black. And I just really scumbled that in everywhere where I wanted it, including on the inside. I wanted a deep sort of wounded centre to the book, as it were. So this area I'm painting now, I did that between every single page in the book as well. And then I just thinned out that colour to just make it help with the staining around the edges of the pages, around the edges of the cover, just adding water and then pushing it and pulling it with a tissue, so that it really helped the wear and tear and aging the book. It's really kind of important to me as well that this book had a real sense of evil and murderous intent. So blood staining was definitely going to be a part of my painting process. So I just took a really bright, vibrant cad red, and I just squeezed the tube into the hinge area of the book, between the pages and the covers, and between every sort of page spread as well. And really just use the brush to flick and splatter this red around, water the edges down. I also added a little black into these splashes of red as well, and again tissue, just to really add the look that a lot of pain went into the creation of the book. It was kind of integral to the story that was developing behind my ideas for the game, which I can't tell you here and now because it would be giveaways for my players. Sorry. And then with all that done, it was time to get back onto the cover. Now that was dry, and finish off what I needed. Now Mary had done these beautiful metallics on the eyes, the dragon eyes that she'd made. But the purple of the eye that I picked was not really suited to the concept that I'd got for the book. So just a very heavy but kind of dry brush over the top of that metallics purple, because I didn't want to knock that out entirely. So yeah, just a very loose bit of painting there to bring it into the theme of the book that I was after. And then I took that bright red and I used it in and around all areas around the cover where I felt that blood would flow or gore would be seen, especially around that kind of skeletal figure that I've attached to the front there. Just really putting it in places that would draw a highlight to an area of detail that I wanted the viewer to be able to see and enjoy, as well as just making it as gory as hell. I mixed a kind of dirty, greyed down, decayed yellowish sort of colour for the bones and the skeleton. Just did a heavy dry brush across all of the skeletal areas, which I then lightened up and did a second sort of pass, just to lighten up certain areas. Once that was dry, I kind of did a very light dry brushing over the whole thing with just a cooler white colour. Just separated it out. That sort of yellowish colour just separates the skeleton out from the warmer crimson tones of all of the blood and flesh. So I mixed quite a warm pinkish tone, using the crimson, a little of the sienna and white to get just a warm pinkish sort of colour for the underlying paintwork. And that was applied as a fairly generous dry brush, not totally dry brush, so still a reasonable amount of paint came off, enough to knock out maybe 85 to 90% of the underlying darker metallics, but I still wanted some essence of them to sort of show through. And then once that was dry, I went over it again with a much lighter version of the colour, and I did do a further highlight dry brush with a slightly cooler version of the colour as well. You can see me doing here, just to pick out a few areas here and there, and just to add a little variety to the fleshy tones. So the book has worked out an absolute treat. I'm really happy with its final finish. The internal hinge, which I obviously had problems with right from the very start, is certainly loose, but it's in there on this chain, and I kind of like the little bit of gory bits that are, and this looseness anyway. It feels like there's something wanting to get out of this book that's alive. I'm really kind of happy with that fact, because it feeds right into the story in my D&D game. I did have to come up with a way of fixing. I think I might end up making some kind of a clasp that's magnetised maybe, but I had a piece of the bone from the skeleton that I was using, or another skeleton, and that just sort of comfortably clips over there like that, and provides a perfect clasp to the book for right now. Got a tiny little bit of tidying up to do, just where a few bits of sticky paint have just torn the paper away, and you may see that in the beauty shots which I'm about to show you, but I can deal with that at my leisure. So overall, I hope you've enjoyed this particular build in time for Halloween, and hopefully now I will be back after the very busy summer doing a few more regular videos for the channel. So thank you everybody for supporting me, as you always do, and here we go. Let's take a look at some of the beauty shots of this horrific creation. See you soon. Bye.